In the previous video, we covered how to punch little shapes out of freezer paper and iron them onto the back wrong side of the fabric. Today, I'm going to show you how we cut the hexagons out and baste them. The tools I use for this, and bear in mind I normally do this on my lap in front of the television, but I'll do it on a table today, are some nice sharp scissors for cutting fabric. Small ones work better. The Soline glue pen, or any other glue pen you prefer to use. I like the Soline. The reason I use that is because it's much smaller than a glue stick, and you can just get really narrow little glue lines on there. I need a little container for my fabric scraps. This is just a little Ziploc container. Not very pretty, but it works. And then I have this flat surface for holding on my lap when I do it, which is just a cheap old clipboard from the stationery store, but you can use any flat surface. And those are our tools, so let's get going. Firstly, remember that when we ironed these onto the fabric, we spaced them about 1/2 inch apart. And this was another reason for this was to make the cutting out of the shapes easier. So the first thing I'm going to do for every shape is just cut right in the middle between each shape, 2 shapes, which will give you about a 1/4 inch seam allowance on each side. I do this for all of them. Okay, I've cut them all out. This is what they all look like now. As you can see, they're kind of in little squares, and they have a straight line on 2 sides, but the other sides are not cut out. The next step is to complete the cutting out of these. Remember I told you we need this little scrap bin? This is where we're going to use it. I'm left-handed, so this would be the other way around if you are right-handed, but for each one of them, I'm just going to pick up the little hexagon. Let's see if I can get it here. And I'm going to make 2 cuts on this side, about a 1/4 inch from the freezer paper, over the container. See, that way you don't have to pick up scraps later. And put it aside. And you'll get really quick with practice. Don't worry about being too accurate. As long as they're around a 1/4 inch and not much bigger, otherwise with these small little 1/2 inch hexagons, it'll get hard to fold the edges over when we baste. But see, now we only have 4 of the 6 sides to cut out because we've already done the others pretty much 2 at a time. Okay, and we're going to continue and do this for all the hexagons. Okay, here's my little pile of hexagons all cut out. As you can see, they're not like perfect and exact. I'm a little type A, but not that badly, so these will just be fine. Sometimes you have to pick between speed and perfection and find a kind of a middle way. Also, because I cut them out over the bowl, here's all my scraps and my surface is nice and clean. Next, we're gonna glue baste these. I used to thread baste, but then I discovered the wonderful glue pen, which is about twice as fast as thread basting and I think just as effective. So this is what I do now. Let's go. Take one of these little hexagons. I unscrew the glue pen's glue bit to about maybe a 1/16 of an inch outside, not too much, otherwise you'll just use way too much glue. And I'll take my hexagon, hold it with I'm left-handed, so you might have to switch all of this around if you're right-handed. Hold it with one hand. With my glue hand, I draw a thin little line of glue right along one edge. Then I use the thumb of this glue hand, the hand that I usually use, and I push that over the edge. You'll feel it because the freezer paper is pretty thick and you get all the way to the edge of the freezer paper. Then I turn it. I hold this part down with my finger. I put glue on the little exposed bit of that edge. And while I still hold this down, because you don't want this moving, you push the next piece over. Flip it again or spin it. A little bit of glue right there. Hold this down. Use the thumb of this finger and fold it over. Ooh, don't know what happened there. Keep doing that for the first 5 edges of the hexagon. Right. Then when you get to the sixth one, you'll see that we don't really have any freezer paper showing, so we can't put any glue. So what I do is I pull this little edge away just a little bit like this, put glue on the freezer paper, and then push that in underneath. See, I'm like, and fold that back over. Sometimes I have to pick it up and just kind of push it in. But there we go. We have one little glue basted hexagon in about half the time it takes to thread baste. Now we just have to repeat this for all of them.